I always try to start with kindness, because I feel like you get a lot further being kind. But then again, I would reiterate it with an email just so you have, the documentation that you did discuss this with your staff. But I always come at it that, it's learning. Insurance is changing on us every single day. It's not necessarily somebody's fault if something was missed. Nobody's perfect, but we do want to strive to be our best and provide the best services we can. And so I just always kinda go it in, I keep saying courteous, but in a courteous manner, with my team or the office staff, whoever it is, and then, like I said, definitely follow up with an email. You always want to have that in place, so you could always reference back, be like, "Hey, remember 2 months ago we discussed this? Let's make sure we're still following these guidelines, when dealing with this situation."
Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to Scaling Practice Management, where we help practice managers grow smarter, not harder. My name is Jakub Grajcar. I'm the head of marketing at Talk AI, where we deliver AI medical front desk agents for medical practices. And my guest today, I'm super excited to announce to introduce Amanda Buchanan, director at Voyage Practice Management, a full-service medical billing company. Amanda, how are you doing today?
Great, how are you doing?
I'm super excited. This is the first recording of the year. I'm still wearing my Christmas sweater for those of us joining us on YouTube and not on Spotify, Apple, etc. It pays off to subscribe. So I'm still in little bit of a festive mood. I had some time off, so I'm recharged, and I think it's showing in my voice already. So yes, I'm super excited to record today, and I'm looking forward to this episode. So Amanda, there's a bunch of things I wanted to ask you about for this episode. What we do on the show a little bit differently is that we don't do like a lengthy introduction at the very beginning. You'll have a chance to definitely talk about your background, what you do professionally in just a moment. But first, not a lot of shows like this cover the more personal side of the guests coming in, and we definitely want to do that. Usually, I ask my guests, what is the most fun thing you've done this year thus far? Well, I mean, mine would definitely up there would be the Modman Momentum Conference that we both attended, right? So if that's number one, definitely talk about that. But yeah, what is a fun thing you've done this year thus far? I guess I would have to say last year. Yeah, I guess I
Yeah,
would have to
kinda
say
last year,
last
we're
year.
only 8 days in. Yeah, the ModMed conference was great, very informative, a lot of fun, learned a lot, met a lot of great new people like yourself. One fun thing I did get to do this last year is, I'm in Texas, and so football is huge here. We love the Dallas Cowboys, and so we got to go to the Dallas Cowboys game in Las Vegas to play the Raiders, and so Vegas has a new football stadium, just been out a few years, so to get to go to the new Vegas stadium was really cool to see, the football game, so we had a really great time.
Was it a win? I wasn't
It
following.
sure was, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes,
Congrats.
so it was really, really great, but it was really fun. It's always fun to go to away games and see different cities and their stadiums, and so we try to do that, once a year, go to an away game, and so it was our first time at Vegas, so we really enjoyed ourselves, and we got the W, so
That sounds great. And you feel so important, right? Because you took the effort, you did the trip to support your team, away from their home turf. So I feel like, you're really doing an important job there.
yes.
Yeah, I'm not, myself, I'm not much of a either, American football or like, here in Poland we would call it soccer, I guess. Here in Poland we would call it soccer. I mean, in the US you call it soccer. Here we call it like piłka nożna, if you want to know the Polish name for it. Either way, not super into it, but I do remember I once went to like an esports match, and I believe my team was playing, and the emotions, you might say it's just a video game, but the emotions were very much quite real in the stadium, and I still remember that energy. When they were getting it, like each team was getting their first points, that was so fun. So yes, I can definitely relate to at least the overall vibe for sure.
Yeah, esports is fun too. Both of my sons are gamers, and my one son went pretty far with it. So I no, I see the entertainment value and how much people enjoy the esports. So it's definitely right up there, coming on up with traditional sports. I feel like.
It is definitely a rapidly growing industry, and it's fun. It can be really fun. So yes, we did meet last year at the ModMed conference, which was such. I should record like a solo episode about that. Now that I think about it, it's still fresh enough in my mind. So I think I might do that at some point for the podcast. Mix it up a little, but in the meantime, definitely. During the conference, you already mentioned before we hit record that you learned a lot, and I wonder if that's going to play into our first question here, the one that everybody gets on the show, and you'll be no exception, Amanda. What is your number one tip for successfully growing a healthcare practice?
So number one, so ModMed, for others who may not know, it is an EHR practice management billing software for the medical field, and having a legitimate software that offers all the bells and whistles is huge. It makes all the difference in the world to have a software because there are so many things that are coming out, AI, all the other things that come out every day. You have to have a good software, and ModMed is a great one to utilize. But if you I mean, they cost money, of course, but that's always been I have softwares that I really enjoy, some that aren't the easiest to work with, but I suggest, doing your research and doing demos, speaking with people who utilize that software. Software will change your entire practice, having a good software to bill with.
And would that be your number one tip? The most important thing to do is to focus on the software and get the most out of it, or in a more general sense, is there something that you think is even more important?
Really, you have to start with your software because that starts at the beginning. It's data entry, it's your front staff, it's your doctors using it, it's your coders, it's your billers, and then it's the back end working the outstanding accounts with insurance companies, patient balances. If you are missing a software, you are not able to work those in their entirety. And, just to manage them, they have really great managing tools so you know where all your revenue is sitting. You can easily get in there and see where's all your money and see what you need to focus on and what your issues might be. So, in my opinion, yes, a good software it is the beginning of a great practice.
That's such an interesting point. Just last episode, I had a guest on who had over 3 decades of experience in the healthcare field. And she mentioned that she remembered the time even before EHRs, right? When that was the new thing. And now we're so used to it that we're saying, people like yourself are saying that it might be the number one thing to focus on, kind of the heart of the practice. It really shows kind of the how the change has transpired in this space. Definitely want to dig more into this. Can I just clear up one thing that you said that sometimes on the show I try to fill in gaps in my own knowledge as well. And you mentioned coders and billers. So I do understand more or less, that the kind of the area of billing, the area of coding. So, but you're saying these are two different roles?
In some practices, it is. Most practices choose to have a certified coder on staff, or they work with a billing company who has them. And the certified coder is really reading the documents and putting the corresponding codes into the system. The billers might be their own, where they're actually sending those out to the insurance company, making sure there's nothing missed that insurance might require. So sometimes it's in one role, but a lot of times with a larger practice, it's 2 separate roles.
Could you dumb down coders for me even more?
So coders, so they go and get their certification, so it's really reading an op note, what kinda hip surgery did this patient have? And there could be, 3 separate codes because the physician did 3 separate procedures. Some are bundled, may not be paid. It's a very technical side of the medical billing, and it's informative because that's where your money is. If you are undercoding and not catching everything the physician did, you're gonna lose out on that revenue. So it's really important to have our certified coders reading those op notes in their entirety or just an office visit. Patient comes in for an office visit, x-ray, gets an injection in their knee. Somebody is looking at that. It might be the physician, it might be an MA, it could be their coder. Every practice is set up to what works best. But that's where your revenue is making sure everything that doctor did is billed out properly to the insurance companies so they can get the reimbursement that they're owed.
Okay, okay. So that sounds really useful now that I understand it better. You might be already doing the work, but if you're not coding it, you might not be billing for it and not
If
getting
you're
the.
not coding it to its entirety, if you're missing this or that or the other, and most practices, larger practices, or if any surgeons, most of the time they have a certified coder working to get those all coded properly. And then the billers, a lot of times, like I said, they send it to the insurance company. And then a lot of times the billers might be part of the accounts revenue team where they are working with those insurance companies to get those reimbursements.
That's great. And it also, I think, teases very well what we'll be diving into in this episode. Definitely want to talk with you about medical billing and about practice management more in general. Of course, that's the theme of the show. Before we go there, as I mentioned just a minute ago, I think now would be a great time for you to say a few more words about, what you do, about Voyage Practice Management, so that people can know where you're coming from as you share your advice.
Voyage Practice Management is a medical billing company located in Texas. I am the director. We've been in business for 8 years now. We work with several types, specialties, facilities, anesthesia, orthopedics, neuro, plastic surgeons. And so we are a full practice management. We can send out the claims, we help train your team, we work with the insurance companies to get the most insurance reimbursement. We provide monthly reports and audits to our clients. We have clients, even though we're based in Texas, we have clients all over the US. You don't have to be in Texas for us to handle your billing. And before that, I did practice management for a large ambulatory surgical center, like an outpatient surgery center. And I did that for 16 years with a focus on gastroenterology, orthopedics, ophthalmology, general surgery, but full stop shop for practices to get your claims out to the insurance properly, help keep your staff abreast of what's coming up. We stay involved with all of the newest Medicare guidelines that come out. Insurances are always changing guidelines on you, so you really have to keep up with all webinars and any meetings they may have, just to see the latest and greatest that's coming out, or any changes that may not be the best, so we can share that with our clients. And we do have some services where we just handle DME, which is durable medical equipment, where groups just need help with their DME. That's one of our specialties that we have really started over here at Voyage Practice Management. And we've kind of just grown on our own. Our sister company is a large durable medical equipment company, and they had physicians that needed help with their office billing, and that's where we came from.
Okay, that's really cool. So, out of everything that you do, because it does sound like there's a broad range, I don't mean for you to pick like a service line, but just in general from your day to day, what is your favorite part of what you do professionally?
My favorite part is when I see we have had to appeal something with the insurance did not pay it, and we've had to follow all the steps and fight with the insurance company, and then we get paid. That just feels great to see it from the beginning, have to use all our resources, get this, and then to see that payment come in at the end of the day and make that provider happy it makes it all worth it. I really enjoy that part of it.
So, just like your team, you like to get the W.
I do, you're right. It can be a lot of work, and it's a challenge. Insurance makes it really hard. They're looking for any error, any mistake, and we're doing the best we can to get these fixed or just know our guidelines and pull their guidelines, tell them what they should do, and then when they come in and pay, it feels amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really fulfilling, definitely, and it sounds very valuable for the practices that you work with. So for this next part, I would definitely love to dive deeper into medical billing, and it's a big and complicated and technical topic to be sure. But every time, I can see you nodding, right? But every time there's at least some level of advice that we can share on a podcast episode like this that practice managers might still benefit from. So I just wanted to ask you, in terms of medical billing, what are the most often missed pitfalls? Or like, what are the easiest fixes that bring the highest ROI? What do you wish more practices would know about?
Filling practices should look at their ancillary services, right? They're seeing their patients, they're doing office visit, x-rays, surgeries, but there are some items out there such as durable medical equipment, which is a great way to service your patient, to give them braces they may need, whatever the situation is. And then you can also get some reimbursement of it. So you're helping your patient and you're also helping, your bottom dollar. So it's always best, I feel like, to look at all ancillary service and see what fits for your practice and if there's something else you could bring in to help your patients and then also help your practice.
Okay, so what would be the steps towards that? So you're talking about situations like when there's braces involved or a patient needs braces. Could you break it down a little bit more? So what are practices not doing where they can get kind of more benefit in this space?
So there are some, I do a lot with orthopedics because it's a lot of bracing has, or knee braces, hip braces, shoulder braces, wrist braces. There are some providers that feel like it's a real headache to deal with the durable medical equipment side of it. And so they just choose not to work with it, or they just have it outsourced to a third party who keeps all the revenue. But I feel like it's definitely worth looking at bringing that, internally so you can work it and bill it and, take care of your patients faster and get some of that revenue. They would just, want to see what if they're providing bracing now, making sure they're getting reimbursed. And if they're not, reaching out to a vendor, a billing company, somebody to see what options they have. Cause there are new items coming out all the time. And so it's definitely worth seeing what's out there and what you can provide to your patients.
Is it also important? I'm really just following my own curiosity here. Is it also important, like what kind of braces you're using? Does that affect the reimbursement amount or whether it does get reimbursed? Because if
Yeah, it's all based on codes, and just like offices, there's always HCPCS code, and there are some products that there's a lot of might have the same code, but it's different vendors making the product. So of course, there's some products that personally one doctor might feel is better than the other, and of course that's up to the physician's discretion. But there are a lot of options out there. And it's really most of the time it's up to the physician, and he kind of looks at the product and sees what he likes, and then you just kind of go from there.
so, where is this currently? I'm imagining, but I might be imagining a situation that doesn't actually happen. Are there often trade-offs in this sort of scenarios where it depends on you're saying it's the physician's decision, right? So is there a reason not to go with the best, most expensive possible brace, or does that depend on kind of what the patient can provide?
Well, so it's going to come down to report reimbursement. There are some braces that cost more than what the insurance allows. So you would be in fact losing money. And you can't afford to lose money. But from a lot of the of course, like I said, specialty specific what kind of durable medical equipment you're dealing with. But it's all about the reimbursement. So again, it's knowing your contracts with your insurance company, seeing how much possibly could be allowed for this product and making sure that the cost, correlates with your reimbursement.
I understand. And kind of coming back to the question, so you're saying that this area of durable medical equipment, we were using braces as just an example. This is one of the areas where practices can find kind of the easiest ROI, like it's most often missed. Are there other such areas that are often missed?
So that yeah, DME is a great one. I mean, there are other ways. I mean, definitely having an audit done on your billing to make sure, like we talked about earlier, some of your CPT codes may have not been billed out properly with your coder. So do it having an audit is huge to make sure you are billing everything out to its full potential. That's that because there is a lot of money left because things weren't billed out properly to the insurance company, whether the coder's doing it or the biller or whoever. So I always recommend kind of an audit to make sure what you're billing out really coincides with what the physician's doing.
Okay. So if you could take me deeper here, and it might not be something that I can necessarily wrap my head around kind of right off the bat, but let's try. So in this area of coding, what is most often missed? Like what are some parts of procedures or some services that, you look at 9 out of 10 of these audits, 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be missed.
Just documentation, making sure that the physician is documenting everything they do as well, because if it's not documented, how could a third party go and look and see, what's going on? So it's really important for your coder to be close with the physician or the MA who's actually in there seeing what's being done to make sure everything's documented so the coder could then get those codes out properly to the insurance company. So it's just all about communication. You really I consider us a back office of all of our clients because we work so closely with, the financial team and the people up front checking benefits and insurance and all that to make sure, every avenue is covered and nothing is missed because insurance rates are just, They just payments are just getting less and less. So you really have to do your due diligence to make sure everything is built out as best it can be to the proper levels.
Well, with matters like this, this is going to be episode, I think, like 17, 18 of the show, right? So I've already had conversations about documentation, about compliance, and a lot of the thing. I feel like there's a big category of things that should be happening at a practice, but aren't because they're a hassle, they're complicated, there's not enough time to address these. I wonder if you're having similar conversations as well, and if so, what is your advice for trying to address that?
Absolutely, staffing is hard. It's hard to keep staff in this day and age. It's something that all of our clients somewhat struggle with. I've seen it too personally, but you really have to look again. I go back to the great software because if you have a great software, you can easily see on a dashboard normally where all your money is, right? What's sitting here, what's not been worked, what has errors, and what made those errors. Was it a typo? Was it proper insurance not collected? So you really just kind of need to look at the account in its entirety and see where's all your money sitting. That's always kind of the best, and that's what the doctors are looking at, I billed out X amount of dollars to this insurance company. Why have I not received payment yet? And those are alive. I always joke and say the AR is alive because every day, they're seeing more patients, and so more charges are being built in that system. So it is a lot to manage, but that's where your revenue is. Everything is sitting out to insurance companies and making sure, number 1, that it's sent out properly, and number 2, that you're doing all you can to try to get those processed and paid by the insurance in a timely manner.
So there's definitely ways. You mentioned software, right? I'm thinking about software. I'm thinking about technology, or like just generally speaking, new solutions in this space. You work with a variety of clients. Is there something that you've seen that you wish more practices would know about in terms of like software or technological solutions for these kinds of problems?
So I've been doing this for quite a while too. I started off and it was DOS systems. So I've definitely seen the integration and all that. So I've seen all the benefits of electronic eligibility where the software talks directly to the insurance company and it sends back, if this patient's active or not, what their copay or deductible. That's huge. That shows, if we have the proper insurance from the patient. That's a big, big deal. Also, with the new softwares being out to send out text messages, the ability to send out text messages for balances or appointment reminders has absolutely changed the game. I have seen so much success with sending a text message to a patient saying, "Hey, you owe a X amount of dollars." People don't open their mail. People have a zillion emails to get through. The texting features that these softwares, most of them are offering now, has really changed the collections, in my opinion. It's really helped.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, for example, appointment reminders is something that we were talking about here at Talkie just yesterday, right? Doing that for one of our clients where, I mean, we do both voice and text with our AI receptionist. So you can either get a text from Talkie or you can get a call, just reminding, in this case, reminding them about like an upcoming appointment. Would you have any questions? Do you want to reschedule? So that's being automated too. And it doesn't. I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily have to be a texting situation anymore. You can also get a call and also ask the questions you already want to ask kind of in the moment, and that's possible thanks to AI now. And I'm really excited to see those features kind of being built over here at Talkie. So I would add that to the pot, but some of the others that you mentioned also sound really useful.
No, it is. That's been the biggest change I've seen. And then, of course, claims go out more electronic now than they ever used to. That's all with insurances and enrollments and everything. So that's a big deal. But the AI and just the automated things we're seeing, that's really saves a lot of time. I've seen it. And I know personally, I appreciate a text message or a phone call about an appointment reminder or balance because that's the easiest way you're going to reach out to your demographic. Of course, some people don't appreciate those, but most of the time I see it's a lot of success with anything automated because people always are on their phones. Like people have their phones around them. That's where we are now. So I think that's been much better than sending out paper statements or reminders. We definitely utilize anything we can to automate services.
And at least for now, texting is still a more kind of respected channel, so to speak, right? You don't get as many texts as you get, for example, emails in a day. I mean, emails is, you know, yeah.
They're just lost, and there's important stuff. We have to reach out to patients a lot. especially with the new year, insurance is asking patients, or they are asking patients to verify their insurance, try to find if they have any insurance coverage. Well, if it comes in the mail, patients aren't going to see that, but their claims will not be paid until they have reached out to that insurance company and given them the information they need. So the best way for us is to send them a text message or an email, say, hey, you have to reach out to your insurance. And we, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, the patient responds versus, a phone call just goes to voicemail. They don't, for me, that's normally what we see, or, something in the mail. So we definitely, when I need to reach out to a patient about something, an urgent matter, the texting features that these softwares are offering has been huge. Really makes everybody's life easier, I feel like.
And I feel like that's something that keeps evolving all the time. And one sure bet for this year and the next is that kind of the way we communicate with practices, with insurers, with patients, I think that's just going to keep evolving. I even hear talk of like an arms race in terms of AI between insurers and practices, and that, practices are using AI to kind of try to, do more detailed coding, for example, but the insurance companies are also using AI to kind of respond to these and try to, find holes in that or dispute these. Is that something you're seeing as well? Because that's something I'm hearing about, but you're, right in there. So,
Absolutely, where they're calling it down coding, and some insurance companies are saying, you coded this too high is the verbiage. It's all based on time, and so we have to then fight with them and argue with them, send them chart notes, go through the appeals process to say, "No, ours are correct. We build this appropriately for the amount of time, decision making." There's a whole equation that goes into billing these out. And so but it's a we're using AI for them, and they're coming right back at us. So our medical records requests have increased, oh, I'd say 100%. Insurance companies are requesting medical records on simple office visits, things they never used to even ask for. But they're looking for any way to see if you are up coding, so they can bring it down and pay you less at the end of the day. So it's a real situation that we are all, I mean, I'm seeing it from all specialties, even ancillary. Everybody's getting hit hard with medical records requests. And it's all about trying to make sure you didn't up code anything.
and in some cases AI is scaling that. It also reminds me, outside of the healthcare space, a similar arms race right now is in job hunting, for example, where you've got, candidates sending AI CVs, which are then screened, by the recruiters AI systems. And it's honestly an interesting place to be in. I wonder how it's going to stabilize. I guess, the two systems are gonna, even out at some point. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion to be sure.
Big changes, lots of changes for sure coming out.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's one other topic that I wanted to dive into with you. So I've been reading your website, right? And one thing that you mentioned on the website is something that you do is monthly practice management reports. And that got me thinking, right? What does a report like that look like? I'm head of marketing at Talkie AI. I know what a marketing report looks like. This is our website traffic, number of leads, how these are converting. I'm not going to bore you with that stuff. But I do wonder, for the practice managers listening, they have an idea definitely of how they're monitoring their practice monthly. And I wonder if you have any advice here. Do practices typically track too much, track too little, not granular enough, too granular? I mean, there's a bunch of ways this can go. But what's your look at this? Like, what does a good monthly report look like?
So we have several. Of course, there's not just one report that looks at everything that I feel is important. And of course, every physician, every group's a little bit different on what they're trying to track. But definitely, the top three for me, number one is you want to see billing collections. You want to see how much you billed and how much was collected. Number two, you want to see how much is outstanding to the insurance company, right? You want to see quickly, how many dollars are sitting, with whichever insurance company by age bucket. So we usually do 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 60 to 90, because you can see how old your claims are and what's not being processed and paid in a timely manner. And then third is missed charges. So you want to make sure again that you're not missing any billing. That if a patient came in, there is correlating visit billed out to the insurance company. And so those are like 3 separate reports, that I always definitely make sure we include to our clients. And then working with them, there's other things. They might wanna see how much they're getting paid for a particular, injection. And then, we will create those reports and send those out monthly. But to me, you wanna see how much you billed, how much you're getting paid, what's outstanding, where's it at, how old is it, and then to make sure nothing's missed as the best of your ability. Those are the top 3, that I make sure we always send out, and then, of course, we have multiple others, just practice specific on what they like.
That's interesting. So, I mean, for this report, definitely we're looking at, specifically billing. I do wonder if there's, and this might depend on the specifics of your business, right? But do you ever go beyond and look at other metrics like, I don't know, patient satisfaction, those sorts of factors, or do you rather stick to the, just the purely financials?
Those are in there as well. We have the ability where patients send reviews. Again, that's all kind of in the automated. We get a lot of that automated with your certain softwares where patients can respond or leave a review. We have a lot of that. There's also reports time. How long is that patient in the waiting room, or how long is their visit taking before they actually get checked out and get to go home? So that's important too. How much of the doctor's time is being used, and how long is that patient sitting in that waiting room? That's important too. So that's something else that we can look at and just track and provide to our providers. Of course, patient balances, that's another big report we send out. How much is sitting out strictly for patients? How much do these patients owe? And so that's another report that most of the clients like to see as well, because if you're not collecting it up front, you're not going to get it. And when I say that, if you're not collecting copays or co-insurance or deductibles, the front office, so it's really imperative for us to share that information. This patient owed $100, but we could have collected that up front with all of these features and eligibility tools that the softwares have in place for you. So that it just, again, it's us working with that office to share with them all their details so we can try to just be better and not have so many things sitting there not paid, just to try to get everything. Nothing's perfect, but we definitely try to share all of our every resource we have to try to get these paid and processed in a timely manner, whether it's insurance or patient.
I want to ask you though about something completely different, not even from the list of questions, just popped in my mind, right? So I'm picturing you in your day-to-day work. You work with a lot of different practices. And I feel like, the podcast is called Scaling Practice Management. The mission is to help practice managers. My assumption is you work with a lot of them, you see a lot of different approaches to just running a practice. And I wonder, because you can't influence everything, right? You help increase visibility, right? You help point out the problems. At the end of the day, though, the practice manager or like the director, they are leading the practice and they're trying to actually enact that change. What do you see that influences this rate of success in terms of how they approach their team, their mindset, their leadership skills? I'm fishing here, right? But, working across a variety of practices, what do you think are the qualities of a good practice manager that you see that kind of increase the success rate?
So, no, we're just being open, because maybe the practice manager isn't doing something to the best of their ability, and being open for me to share, hey, if you would have gotten this form signed, or my team, whomever, we wouldn't have had this denial. If this patient, if your staff up front would have checked eligibility, they would have seen, oh, wait, this patient didn't actually have coverage. So it's really about just being open to accepting the information that we provide, and then sharing that, in a professional, courteous way with your team. It's really all about attitude and how you provide information to each other, I feel like. And so just being open-minded to whatever information I'm sharing with you, what the insurance companies are, and being able to take that back into professional, courteous manage to your team, and just being open. And we like I say, we don't just work with the practice manager, we work a lot with the staff, right? The ones who are on the phone with the patients, and just having that ability to reach back and forth. They can call me, we can call them. Because a lot of these, time is of the essence. We're trying to get this corrected so we can get this fixed. And if that patient's coming back for a follow-up, we can have that taken care of. So I would say, being open to any information we provide and just sharing that with your team.
Yeah, I guess it's about having a growth mindset. I mean, this is a podcast classic, right? Half of them talk about having a growth mindset. I don't mean to go there too much, but definitely you need to be open to change, right?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it is harder. Like I said, I've seen lots of different things change and, I've been doing a long time and I know how to do it, but there are things that come out all day and, we have to roll with the changes and be open to new avenues out there. And so having your practice admin being open to those two really makes a big difference. And those are the accounts I see with the most success with keeping their staff and being able to get their claims filled out and things followed up on properly. That's really been the key.
Oh, at least I didn't say I understand this time. Anyway, so I'm hearing you, right? And I'm thinking some practice manager might be listening to this and thinking, okay, Amanda here has worked with a lot of practices. She knows the qualities of a good practice manager. She's saying courteous communication or this openness are important. I wonder if you could kind of take us there. Like, if a practice manager was curious, how do I talk to my team? Where on the one hand, very likely it was just discovered that some things are being missed, at the practice, some steps are not being done. On the other hand, you want to keep morale high. What does that kind of communication look like?
I always try to start with kindness, because I feel like you get a lot further being kind. But then again, I would reiterate it with an email just so you have, the documentation that you did discuss this with your staff. But I always come at it that, it's learning. Insurance is changing on us every single day. It's not necessarily somebody's fault if something was missed. Nobody's perfect, but we do want to strive to be our best and provide the best services we can. And so I just always kind of go it in, I keep saying courteous, but in a courteous manner with my team or the office staff, whoever it is. And then, like I said, definitely follow up with an email. You always want to have that in place. So you could always reference back, be like, hey, remember 2 months ago we discussed this. Let's make sure we're still following these guidelines when dealing with this situation. So I've had success that way.
I understand. So on the one hand, be courteous. On the other, have receipts that something was communicated to the team, right?
Talk all day and where everybody's busy, that's the thing, everybody's overworked. That's just how it feels like it is nowadays. But you definitely want your receipts. And then it is easy to have it in black and white, even for that staff to understand exactly what what your expectation of them is in this situation. So that's kind of how we manage our team.
I love that. It almost sounds like, okay, my marketer brain is booting up now. Because one thing we do for our clients, for example, is, when there is different modes of communication or like important messages, we go to the length of like even providing email templates. So, for example, for, AI receptionists, adoption is really important. Some patients really feel, they have some concerns. I mean, I'm trying to avoid the word resistance because resistance to AI sounds like something out of the Terminator franchise. But they have concerns, right? So we even share, email templates for the practice. Send them this email, this text. This is how the front desk staff should talk with patients who have concerns. Do you also do that, or is that something you've ever done?
No, I don't really have templates, but I do. I'm like, these are our clients. Speak with our patients and then the physicians as well. I was like, they're our client. We do work for them. There are options out there, so we do want to do our best to, always be professional. There, a please and thank you go a very long way. With our patients, because it could be an older demographic. You have to take the time and just try to explain it in the simplest, kindest terms. Because not everybody understand insurance is very, very complicated. And if you don't understand insurance and you're trying to explain to somebody why they're getting a bill for their deductible and they don't understand what a deductible is, it takes a little bit longer. And it's worth it to explain to the patient how their insurance works because not everybody understands it. And so you can get a lot further and have a happier patient if you just take a few extra moments to explain, their policy in its entirety. And then, the doctors aren't hearing the patients complain about their billing service or if the office called them, that goes a long way too to keep your patients happy. It's not always possible, but that we always strive to keep those patients happy because they have choices too. They could go find another doctor. That doctor's going to be upset that, we lost a client just because the patient didn't understand something and we didn't take the time to properly and kindly explain it to them.
I love that. I love that message. One other thing I'm noticing here, or I think it works like that. I know it works like that. Having been in leadership positions myself and being led, right? the staff, the team members model the behavior of the leaders, right? So if the leaders are kind and courteous and full of understanding, then they pass that on, for example, to the patients coming in, right? Because often you see this, how should I say, this situation where, leaders are telling staff to be, smiling and courteous to the patients coming in at the front desk. And then at the back office, it's like it's all shouting, screaming, "What are you doing? What am I paying you for?" This does not lead to a good outcome, I don't feel.
No, I agree. You definitely have to. I mean, there are some instances where maybe things get a little heated, but hopefully that's rare and far between, and you're able to deal with your staff, in the best way possible. Because that absolutely it trickles down. It trickles. If you're getting yelled at in the back, you might not be the most friendly to your billing company or your patients or whoever vendors, whomever it could be. So definitely we try to promote that, just, being courteous. And some people are new, right? They may have never worked in a doctor's office before, and they don't even understand how to send out, a professional email. So it's, if you're getting professional emails, you're getting that reimburse, professional from your team, that helps guide them and train them on how to, respond to people in the proper way.
Okay, so Amanda, final question, because I want to tie a bow on the episode, and there's one other thing, one additional thing, one final thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on. So you're very close to, the areas of medical billing, practice management, and it is the very beginning of the year. We're recording this on January 8th. So when to ask about this, if not now, what are your predictions for the coming years? What do you see as the upcoming trends in billing and practice management in general that you think practices should prepare for?
So definitely AI, where you guys come in. The automation, that's huge. And every year we deal with it, but insurance is just getting harder and harder to deal with. Everything's expensive, and they're going to look for any reason to deny these claims. Just whole undercoding, overcoding, cutting our reimbursements down. That's just going to, I don't see that ending anytime. So it's just going to require more staff and more time to try to fight those and prove that you are billing appropriately, and I don't see that changing. Especially if the insurance companies have success and they're getting everybody's just letting it go and not finding it. They're just going to keep saving that money. It may only be a difference of a few dollars, but those few dollars on every single office visit absolutely add up, and that can really hurt your numbers for your practice. So that's really insurance is just going to keep getting harder and harder. That's really the biggest struggle that I see is dealing with all these different types of insurance. You have these Medicare replacement plans, and new ones come out every day, it feels like. And that's just they're going to keep on growing. So look for ancillary ways to bring in some more money. Look at any other options out there to help your practice bottom dollar, because insurance fee schedules are probably just going to continue to go down, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm trying to kind of compile the takeaways from this episode. Definitely, it's sticking in my mind that this area of insurance of claims is going to get harder, and not optimistic, but at least it's something to brace for, right? And we should
Yes.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, spreading a truthful message here. The other thing, definitely the word courteous is going to stick in my head after this episode. This layer of communication. And for the layer of AI and automation, look, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid here, but I think legitimately it would make sense for practice managers to book a few demos with companies like ours, like Talkie AI. I'm not saying buy, 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 right? But actually see what's out there and what's possible with AI already for practices. Because we talk with practices all the time, and they're constantly surprised, by how the voice sounds, by what the agents can and cannot do. They can, they think they can answer simple questions, but it turns out they can do appointment scheduling and it can be automated with the EHR. I'm not going to do a whole pitch here, but as a more general note, you don't have to look into AI receptionists, specifically, but it definitely, I think, and a lot of people at ModMed Momentum, to tie it back, definitely wanted to learn more. They were hearing about AI. Yes, and they definitely wanted to see what's going on because I feel like there's this pressure mounting of, okay, can no longer ignore this. It's not a fad. It's not going away. So might as well see. It's like when the EHRs were new. I'm betting some people left it to the last possible moment, right, to implement a system like this. But at the end of the day, it became very widely adopted. So I think increasing your. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're increasing your knowledge about all of these things. You're in the right spot as a practice manager, and I thank you very much for it, Amanda. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Our time is almost at an end here. Definitely want to give you a little bit of space to promote yourself as well. Where can people find you, follow you? If you can, if you want to kind of reiterate what you help with and who you help, definitely this is the space to do that.
Amanda Buchanan. I have LinkedIn, Voyage Practice Management. Again, we deal with many different specialties, strong background in orthopedics, durable medical equipment, anesthesia. Those are our top clients that we deal with. And so, if you have any other questions, please, message me on LinkedIn. We're happy to help. We do offer consulting, any service that we do have we have a lot of experience. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I have quite a few of my team members have been doing it almost as long. So we have a wealth of knowledge to share, and we're happy to do it. We enjoy the business, and I'm excited to see what's the next outcome. New AI and everything else that keeps coming down. I've seen lots of great things with EHRs and everything with insurance companies. So it's an exciting time. We'll see how it all ends.
Yes, and your new ebook on courteous communication and practices is dropping in 2 months.
I like it. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. At the time of recording, that's not true, but hey, who knows? And we'll
You never know.
co-author it. I think that might be
I
that
like
might be
it.
an
I
idea.
like it. That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Okay. Well, that's recorded now. But anyway, so that'll be it for today, at least for the recorded part of the show. Amanda, thank you again so much for coming on the show. I'm really glad we had a chance to meet at the Modern and Momentum conference. It was such a fun trip, to be honest, and very productive and insightful as well. So thank you for coming on. And
Thank you for
as
having
for
me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And as for you, watchers and listeners, don't forget to subscribe, to follow us, to rate us, to leave a like, all that good stuff. You know where to click to make this reach more people, or just, grab a link and send this to a colleague in the healthcare space. That's appreciated too. But for today, thank you so, so, so much for joining us, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.